In the endless cacophony of the modern world, where noise and haste intertwine like restless shadows, there lies a profound challenge: to remain unshaken, unruffled, and ultimately unbothered. Every day, we are besieged by a torrent of stimuli: urgent messages, unexpected setbacks, shifting demands, and the ever-present whispers of doubt within our own minds. The external storm rages without pause, yet the true turbulence often arises from within. How, then, can one cultivate a mind that stands serene, a fortress amidst chaos? Consider this: your thoughts and emotions are not mere passengers on a journey, but the very drivers of your experience. When external events collide with internal perceptions, peace is often the first casualty. The mind, if left unchecked, becomes a battlefield where anxiety, anger, and distraction wage war. Yet, what if the power to quell this turmoil lies not in altering the world around you, but in mastering the world inside you? This is the essence of the unbothered mind, a state of resilience and tranquility that does not depend on circumstance. It is a mind refined through the disciplined art of emotional mastery, one that greets turmoil with calm and meets challenge with equanimity. It is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of steady control, a sanctuary where reason governs emotion rather than succumbing to it. Stoicism offers a timeless path toward this sanctuary. Born in the crucible of adversity, it teaches that true freedom springs not from external conquest, but from internal sovereignty. In a world where events unfold beyond our command, the Stoic invites us to turn inward, to cultivate a citadel of calm that no external force can breach. Pause for a moment and reflect. How often do the vibrations of the outside world ripple deep within, stirring unrest? How frequently does a sudden insult, a frustrating delay, or a troubling thought disrupt your inner harmony? This disturbance is universal, yet it need not be permanent. The unbothered mind is not a mythic ideal reserved for sages alone. It is a practical state attainable by anyone willing to engage in the deliberate practice of self-mastery. It begins with awareness, the recognition that many of the storms we endure are born from our own reactions rather than the events themselves. To remain unbothered is to cultivate an attitude that views external happenings as mere occurrences, devoid of inherent power to dictate one's inner state. It is to see emotions not as masters, but as signals, natural impulses to be noticed, acknowledged, and then wisely directed. Imagine a lake disturbed by a sudden breeze. The surface ripples, but the depths remain calm. So too can your mind maintain its profound stillness beneath the waves of passing emotions. This is not to deny the reality of feelings or to suppress them. Rather, it is the art of allowing emotions to exist without allowing them to command. It is the difference between feeling anger and becoming angry, between experiencing frustration and being consumed by it. The practice of emotional mastery through Stoicism is a journey inward. It asks of you not to retreat from life's engagements, but to engage with them armed with a steady spirit. It invites you to observe your reactions as if from a distance, to question their origin, and to choose how you respond. This path is marked by patience and persistence. It requires you to recognize that external events will continue to arise unbidden, but your response to them remains your sovereign domain. In this sovereignty lies your freedom. As we embark on this exploration, consider the power held in your own mind. It is not merely a vessel for thoughts, but a realm of control, where calm can be cultivated like a garden amidst wild terrain. To master your emotions is to reclaim this realm, to erect walls of wisdom that no external chaos can topple. An unbothered mind is a liberated mind. The Stoics remind us. Liberation is not found in changing the world, but in changing ourselves. It is the realization that peace is an internal conquest. In this moment, as distractions pull at your attention and emotional currents beckon, ask yourself, what if you could meet these with an unshaken calm? What if your thoughts, rather than being tossed by every breeze, could stand like ancient trees firmly rooted? The promise of Stoicism is that this is not only possible, but within reach. By embracing the principles of emotional control, you begin to cultivate a way of being that thrives not despite adversity, but because of the mastery it fosters. Remain steady. The journey toward an unbothered mind starts here, with the recognition that the power to remain calm lies within you. You master yourself, and through this mastery, the mind finds its true freedom. True freedom, as the Stoics teach us, is not found in controlling the world's caprice, but in mastering our own responses to it. It is a subtle, profound shift in perspective that transforms the chaos outside into calm within. Epictetus, a voice of wisdom from antiquity, reminds us, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Pause to let these words settle. How often is it our own interpretation of events, not the events themselves, that ignites the fires of frustration, anxiety, or anger? This distinction is the cornerstone of emotional mastery. External circumstances are, by nature, indifferent. They simply are. The turmoil arises when the mind attaches meaning and value to these occurrences, casting them as threats or injustices. But what if these judgments are voluntary, subject to our reasoned choice? The Stoic answer is clear. They are. And in that choice lies the power to remain unbothered. Emotions, then, are not enemies to be banished, but natural impulses to be understood. They are signals from our inner world, alerting us to what we perceive as significant. Yet, the Stoic calls us to observe these impulses without becoming captive to them. The moment between stimulus and response, a space often overlooked, is the field of our freedom. Imagine feeling a surge of anger when wronged. The instinct may be to react immediately, to let the fire blaze unchecked. But the Stoic invites you to step back, to witness the anger as a visitor rather than a ruler. This pause, this rational observation, empowers you to choose a response aligned not with fleeting passion, but with enduring reason. Consider how often frustration arises in daily life. Delays at the store, a missed appointment, a harsh word from a colleague. These moments, though small, accumulate and shape our emotional landscape. Yet, if you train yourself to recognize that your upset is not caused by the event itself, but by your judgment of it, you reclaim control. You master yourself. This discipline is neither easy nor instantaneous. It demands vigilance and practice to disentangle impulse from action. But through this detachment, you cultivate a mind that remains centered amid external upheaval. The storm continues to rage outside, but inside, you find your calm harbor. The Stoics teach that emotions have their place. They are part of our humanity. What they caution against is allowing emotions to dictate behavior unrestrained. The difference is profound. Feeling emotion versus being controlled by it. The former enriches experience. The latter enslaves the self. In this light, emotional mastery is not suppression but regulation. It is akin to tending a fire, nourishing warmth where needed, restraining destructive blaze. Discipline becomes the guardian of this balance, enabling you to acknowledge feelings without surrendering to them. This discipline is achieved through reasoned judgment. The Stoic mind examines the nature of each impulse, asking, is this within my control? Is this useful? Will this reaction serve my well-being or disrupt it? When the answer is no, the choice becomes to release the impulse, to refuse to feed the flames of disturbance. This practice transforms the inner landscape. It turns emotional reactions from unpredictable tempests into manageable waves. You become the steady captain of your mental ship, steering through life's unpredictable seas with calm resolve. Reflect on this. The power to remain unbothered lies not in altering your circumstances, but in adjusting the lens through which you view them. The Stoic calls this lens judgment, the faculty that colors experience with meaning. When judgment is wise, emotion follows suit. This is why mastering judgment is paramount. It is the root from which emotional responses grow. By cultivating clear, rational judgment, you reshape your emotional world. You shift from being a passive recipient of feelings to an active agent of your inner state. Epictetus's insight reminds us that we are architects of our own peace. The disturbances that plague many are often self-inflicted through misguided judgments. Recognizing this is liberating. It places control firmly in your hands. Yet, this is no call to cold detachment or denial of feeling. The Stoic path honors the full spectrum of human emotion, but demands that it be held in balance by reason. Emotions do not rule, they inform. They become allies rather than adversaries. In this partnership, you learn to respond rather than react. You create space between the trigger and your action, a a space where choice dwells. In that space, you assert your sovereignty over your mind and, by extension, your life. The journey is gradual. Frustration will still arise. Anxiety may still visit. Anger may flare. But each moment becomes an opportunity to practice detachment and rational observation. Each challenge is a chance to strengthen the habit of remaining steady. This practice is a form of internal liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of impulsive emotion and from the illusion that external events control your happiness. It is a reclaiming of power, a recentering of your existence within the domain of your own mind. Let this truth guide you. Emotions are natural, but they do not have to govern your actions. Through the Stoic art of judgment and detachment, you cultivate a mind that welcomes feelings without surrendering to them. You master yourself. Remain steady. The unbothered mind is not indifferent, but discerning. It feels deeply yet chooses wisely. Control is the path to peace, and in this control, you find your freedom. The mind, in the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, is akin to a fortress, an ancient citadel built not of stone but of reason and self-awareness. Within its walls, the storms of life may howl, but the inner chamber remains unbreached. This metaphor invites a profound reflection. How often do we surrender the gates of our own minds to the intruders of irritation, resentment, and despair? These emotional disturbances are like unwelcome visitors, attempting to unsettle the calm by stirring discord within. Yet, just as a vigilant guardian stands watch over a fortress, so too can reason and self-awareness repel these intrusions. The mind's sovereignty depends upon this vigilance, the conscious choice to not yield control to fleeting feelings. Ask yourself, why do we so readily give away this control? Why does a momentary slight or an unexpected hardship sometimes unravel our peace? Often, it is because we mistake these intrusions for truths rather than passing clouds, because we identify with the emotions rather than observing them as separate phenomena. Marcus Aurelius writes, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This profound insight reveals that the quality of our inner life depends on the judgments we habitually entertain. If we allow irritation and resentment to color our thoughts, the soul darkens. But if we choose wisdom and calm, the soul remains luminous. The question then becomes one of prioritization. What do you value most within your inner world? Is it the transient satisfaction of reacting to every provocation? Or is it the enduring peace that arises from self-mastery and reasoned choice? This is not an invitation to suppress emotion or to live in denial of life's challenges. Rather, it is a call to elevate the mind's role as steward of your experience. To recognize that while external events may be beyond your power, your internal response is always within your grasp. Consider the mind as a garden. If left untended, weeds of irritation and resentment take root and spread. But with deliberate care, through awareness and reason, these weeds can be uprooted, making space for flowers of tranquility and resilience to bloom. This process requires introspection. It asks you to question the habit of surrendering your peace to every passing feeling. Why do you allow yourself to be disturbed by what is, in the grand scheme, insignificant? Why invest emotional energy in shadows that vanish with time? Reflection opens the door to understanding that these emotional intrusions are not facts, but interpretations, momentary reactions that need not define your state of being. You become the observer, the guardian, the master of your own mind. This mastery is not a distant ideal, but a present possibility. Marcus Aurelius himself grappled with the tumult of his era, yet through steadfast practice, he cultivated a mind that remained unshaken. His writings serve as a beacon, illuminating the path toward mental sovereignty. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, he said. This paradox reveals that obstacles and emotional challenges are not barriers, but opportunities to strengthen the fortress of the mind. Each disturbance tests your resolve. Each irritation offers a chance to reaffirm control. The mind's fortress is constructed through repeated choice, in every moment, deciding not to yield to reactive impulses, but to respond with reason. This is the essence of Stoic resilience, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of unwavering composure. Ask yourself now, what walls have you built around your thoughts? Are they strong enough to withstand the tempests of irritation and resentment? Or do they crumble easily, allowing these intrusions to dictate your inner world? The answer lies in cultivating self-awareness, the sentinel that identifies emotional disturbances before they take root. When irritation arises, do you recognize it as a visitor rather than a permanent resident? When resentment stirs, can you see it for the poison it is and choose to release it? This discerning awareness transforms not only your experience, but your very nature. You cease to be a passive recipient of emotional turmoil and become an active agent of peace. The fortress of your mind grows stronger with each act of reasoned resistance. Marcus Aurelius's reflections remind us that the mind's sovereignty is the foundation of all freedom. Without it, we are prisoners to every passing feeling, buffeted by the winds of circumstance. With it, we become architects of our own tranquility. The journey inward reveals that emotional mastery is less about controlling emotions themselves and more about controlling the allegiance we give them. To refuse to identify with irritation or resentment is to deny them the power to unsettle your inner citadel. This practice demands patience and persistence. Emotional intrusions will come unbidden, but with vigilance, you learn to greet them not as invaders, but as transient phenomena passing beyond your walls. You remain steady. You master yourself. In this steadfastness lies a quiet strength. The fortress of the mind need not be a place of cold isolation, but a sanctuary of peace and resilience. Within it, you find freedom, not from life's challenges, but from their capacity to disturb your equanimity. Reflect on this truth. The mind's power is in its ability to choose. To choose which emotions to entertain, which judgments to hold, and ultimately, which state to inhabit. This is the essence of mental sovereignty, the unshaken calm that no external force can breach. Remain steady. Guard your inner citadel with wisdom and self-awareness. The unbothered mind is not a passive refuge, but an active stronghold. You master yourself, and in doing so, you reclaim your freedom. In the relentless pace of modern life, emotional turbulence often feels inevitable. Unexpected frustrations, digital distractions, and relentless demands converge to unsettle even the most composed spirit. Yet, within this chaos lies an opportunity, a chance to apply the timeless Stoic calm and reclaim mastery over our emotional responses. Seneca, a master of Stoic wisdom, offers a piercing caution. Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. This reminder directs attention to the destructiveness of unbridled emotion, urging us to adopt practices that temper our reactions before they spiral beyond control. One of the most powerful tools in this endeavor is the deliberate pause, a moment of stillness before response. When provoked, the instinct is often to react immediately, allowing emotions to dictate words and actions. Yet, by inserting a pause, even if brief, you create space to observe your feelings without judgment. This interval becomes the crucible of choice, where reason can intervene and guide your response. In this pause, practice labeling your emotions. Name the feeling, anger, frustration, anxiety, without attaching good or bad judgment to it. This act of acknowledgement transforms the emotion from a vague storm into a defined experience. It is no longer an overwhelming force, but a visitor you have identified, and thus can manage. This technique fosters a detachment essential to Stoic emotional mastery. By distinguishing the feeling itself from your reaction to it, you reclaim sovereignty over your inner world. The emotion exists, it need not control. Another cornerstone of Stoic practice is discerning between what lies within your control and what does not. Epictetus famously said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This wisdom guides you to focus energy on your own judgments, choices, and actions, the realm where true freedom resides. External events, other people's actions, and unforeseen circumstances often trigger emotional responses. Yet, these elements fall beyond your jurisdiction. To expend emotional energy on what you cannot change is to surrender your peace. Instead, channel that energy into purposeful action within your sphere of influence. For example, when faced with criticism, you cannot control how others perceive you, but you can control your interpretation and how you respond. Will you let it provoke anger or use it as an opportunity for growth? This choice anchors you in control rather than chaos. Channeling emotional energy into constructive pursuit is another Stoic strategy. Rather than allowing frustration to fester, transform it into motivation. Redirect the intensity into purposeful effort, be it problem-solving, creative endeavor, or mindful reflection. This redirection converts potential turmoil into productive force. These practices, simple yet profound, empower the cultivation of an unbothered mind. They build resilience by embedding discipline into daily responses, enabling you to maintain emotional sovereignty amid life's unpredictability. Reflect on the moments that typically disturb your calm. What if, before reacting, you paused to identify the emotion, assessed its origin, and chose a reasoned response? What if you consistently distinguished between what you can change and what you must accept? The cumulative effect of such practice reshapes your emotional landscape. This is not to suggest emotions vanish or that difficulties cease. Rather, the intensity and disruptive power of these emotions diminish. You remain steady, even as external events unfold unpredictably. Seneca's counsel is clear: unchecked anger harms more than the initial injury. This principle extends to all intense emotions. By restraining immediate reactions and cultivating thoughtful response, you protect your inner peace. The path to mastering emotion is paved with these mindful choices. Each pause, each acknowledgement, each discernment strengthens the mind's capacity to remain unbothered. Over time, these habits form a fortress of calm that shields against the storms of life. Consider this your invitation to practice daily. When irritation arises, pause. Name the feeling without judgment. Ask, is this within my control? How can I redirect this energy constructively? Through these questions, you weave Stoic principles into the fabric of your existence. The mastery of emotion is not an abstract ideal, but a practical skill. It requires intention and repetition. Yet, through consistent practice, the unbothered mind emerges, not as a distant aspiration, but as a lived reality. Remain steady. Harness the power of pause, awareness, and discernment. You master yourself. Control is the path to peace, and in this control, the mind finds its sanctuary amid the chaos. Even amidst the disorder of the external world, Marcus Aurelius offers a beacon of hope. Tranquility is not only possible, but attainable. His reflections remind us that inner peace does not depend on the absence of chaos, but on the cultivation of a mind that stands firm regardless of circumstance. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, he writes. This sanctuary is crafted through the patient nurturing of self-awareness, patience, and forgiveness, qualities that sustain emotional control over time. Self-awareness serves as the foundation. It is the light that illuminates the workings of the mind, revealing the subtle stirrings of emotion before they grow into upheaval. By cultivating this awareness, you gain the ability to observe your thoughts and feelings with clarity, recognizing patterns that once went unnoticed. This insight is the first step toward mastery. Patience follows, the steady companion that allows you to endure emotional challenges without yielding to impulsive reaction. It is the calm acceptance that growth is gradual, that mastery unfolds through persistent effort rather than sudden transformation. Patience teaches you to meet each trial not as a threat, but as an opportunity to deepen your resilience. Forgiveness, both of others and yourself, is equally vital. Holding on to resentment or self-reproach only fuels inner turmoil. By choosing forgiveness, you release the burdens that weigh down the mind, creating space for peace to flourish. Forgiveness is an act of liberation, an assertion that the mind will not be held hostage by past grievances. Together, these qualities form a triad that supports lasting tranquility. They are not abstract ideals, but living practices, woven into the texture of daily life through mindful attention and deliberate choice. Marcus Aurelius's guidance emphasizes consistency. Emotional mastery is not a once-achieved state, but a continuous practice. Each moment presents a new challenge, a fresh opportunity to apply Stoic principles and reaffirm your commitment to calm composure. As you cultivate this practice, the unbothered mind becomes more than a goal. It becomes your habitual way of being. You learn to navigate life's unpredictability with steady resolve, no longer swayed by every emotional gust. Remember, the path is not about denying emotions, but about embracing them with balance. You acknowledge feelings without becoming overwhelmed, allowing reason to temper passion. This harmony is the essence of Stoic tranquility. The freedom that arises from this mastery is profound. It is the freedom to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, to maintain peace regardless of external disorder. This freedom is the true power, the strength of the unbothered mind. Let this truth inspire you. Calm composure and mental strength are within your reach. Through consistent, mindful practice of Stoic principles, you become unmovable in a reactive world. Remain steady. You master yourself. Control is the path to peace, and in this control, you find enduring freedom and resilience.